All right, guys, it's true crime time again. I hope you all had a great week so far, and if not, we hope that this brings you a little dark joy. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Taylor.
And this is
Pure Malice.
So the case that we're going to cover today is the case of Elmer McCurdy, the Outlaw Mummy. I feel like it was a fitting name. Who doesn't want to hear about an outlaw mummy? It's a wild one. He was a terrible criminal, and by that, I mean he was not good at being a criminal. So he obviously wanted to be good at it, but he really should have found something else to do. So just FYI, we're going to start at the end of the story, and then we're going to go back, because the end is really the what, wait kind of moment. So,
all right, guys. So, on the morning of December 8th, 1976, the crew of The $1 Million Man, which was a popular sci-fi series starring Lee Majors, began setting up for a day shoot at the Pike, which was a family amusement park along the boardwalk in Long Beach, California. So, the segment was going to be called The Carnival of Spies.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a good name.
Yeah.
Anyways, and it was supposed to take place inside one of the park's funhouse fright attractions called The Laugh in the Dark.
That was good.
I feel like that
perfectly.
Anyway, so the ride was basically a tunnel of love type of ride that they have at amusement parks, where two people ride through the dark in a small car, but with an emphasis on scares and not romance. So so the morning prop master, Chris Haynes, had been loading props for the scene through the back entrance of the ride. At one point, he came across a mannequin that was hanging from a fake gallows scene that was already set up. Okay. So he had already heard about the mannequin from another member of the crew because they had spotted it earlier in the week and commented about how bizarre it was, with an odd glow in the dark paint job. And that when they moved it or handled it, it was very lightweight. So members of the crew guessed that it was made from balsam wood or paper mache. Who doesn't like a good paper mache?
I was going to say paper mache would make sense too if they said it was really light. And yeah, it's pretty fun.
I'm over here like...
messy, but fun.
Glue and newspaper and a balloon?
Yep.
All right. Anyways, so Chris was like, nah.
Which, I mean, yeah, if you think about it, this is like real props, probably not paper mache.
Not paper mache. Mm-hmm. But, so he didn't think it was made of either of those things. It looks really real. He was curious, so he grabbed one of the arms and accidentally pulled it off.
Oh.
If it's a mannequin, that's fine. Like, they're able to pop them on, pop them off, certain parts. But when Chris realized he pulled it off, his first reaction was, well, let's put it back on.
Right.
So he looked inside where there should have been an easily reattachable part for anyone who's worked with props. You know that most props, they've been clean cut. They have a solid cross section. Mm-hmm. But this was a dark texture, and he said it was, quote, almost shredded like beef jerky.
Ew. Ew, gross. What a terrible image.
I know, right?
Ugh.
And...
that's my favorite snack, too.
Well, he went on to say about this beef jerky that in the center, there was something that looked like bone.
Ugh.
Be careful what you eat.
I know, right?
Yeah. Terrible. Terrible mental image. Mm-hmm. It's unfortunate that it's your favorite snack and you get to see that every time.
I know. I'm like, oh, cool. Hope it didn't just ruin it.
He might have.
I hope not.
So Chris Haynes brought the arm over to another crew member, and without telling them what he thought it looked like, asked them what they thought it looked like. The other man said, looks like a human arm.
Ugh.
Ooh.
A real human arm.
One that's definitely seen better days, but a human arm nonetheless.
Wow.
So both guys approached what they previously believed to be a mannequin and leaned in for a closer look.
I bet they did after that.
It had been hung really high up on the wall, so you couldn't see any of the details if you were standing below it, not to mention it was dark.
Yeah.
And when they got up close, they discovered that it was... Oh! That's
Gross.
intense.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready for this?
I guess.
And when they got up close... Are you ready for this?
Yeah, what?
All right, so when they got up close, they discovered that it was an unclothed male genitalia. Yep. That was far more detailed than any replica either of them had ever seen before.
Ew, so we're talking like a real man body.
Like a nutsack just sagging down.
Just dick flopping everywhere.
Ugh, that's disgusting.
It really is.
That was very vulgar. And they knew then that this was no mannequin. In fact, an author, Mark Spinbold, who we will post in the show notes, wrote a book, and in it, he said that it was not anatomically correct. This was anatomical anatomy. A body itself, it was a completely desiccated, mummified human body. So realizing that they were now dealing with an actual dead human body, Chris went to get the off-duty cop, who was hired by Universal Studios for the shoot, assuming the police officer would know what to do in this situation.
Hopefully.
But guess what?
Oh, no.
At this point, the story gets really crazy.
Oh, Lord. Okay, here we go.
As far as Chris remembers, he reported it to the off-duty officer, who reported it to the Long Beach police.
Mm-hmm.
And as Chris remembers it, instead of taking the situation seriously, he remembers that the officers used it as opportunity for a prank.
Oh, no.
Yep. They reported the situation to the paramedics as, quote, a case of severe dehydration. I mean, it's kind of funny, but...
I mean, it is. And
it's also
not,
terrible.
Yeah, it's a bad taste for a joke, for sure.
Sorry, we have some morbid sense of humor.
We do.
Anyways. But none of the officers working the case remembered that prank occurring, of course.
I bet they didn't.
Yep. I mean, I wouldn't either if it was my job.
Slipped my mind.
So, whether they remembered it or not, there was a 12-hour gap in time from when the body was reported and when the body was moved to the coroner's office.
I mean, that's a pretty long time.
Mm-hmm. So, that's a significant amount of time, actually. And given that the body was not of a recent dead person, no one was in a hurry to disrupt the film process.
Oh.
Yeah. So they didn't want to disrupt the daily operations at the Pike or other boardwalk businesses. When the news did finally break in the papers the next day, even the investigators working the case were good with minimizing the entire thing. So one investigator told reporters, quote, the owner of the funhouse thought it was a dummy. I can't, myself, too much like Vincent Price. And in case you don't know who that is, Vincent Leonardo Price Jr. was an American actor known for his work in the horror film genre, mostly portraying villains. He appeared on stage, television, and radio, and in more than 100 films.
Wow.
So getting back to our case, after being removed from the funhouse, the body was then delivered to the office of the medical examiner, Dr. Thomas Noguchi. As LA Chief Medical Examiner at that time, he had been in that position since the early 1960s, and he had conducted autopsies on some of the most iconic celebrities in American history, including Marilyn Monroe, Janis Joplin, Sharon Tate, from the Charles Manson attack, and it earned him really a kind of icky name.
What was it?
Corner of the Stars.
It could be worse.
Yeah, but I do want to say that obviously this body was not a celebrity, but he did take the utmost care with him as he would with any high-profile case. Good. According to the information received from investigating officers, the body on the autopsy table had been found by the funhouse operator many years earlier in a defunct wax museum. So this museum had wrapped it in a brown gauze and advertised it as a 5,000-year-old man.
Wow.
So the medical examiner was quickly like, don't worry, everybody. This mummy is, in fact, not 5,000 years old. No, didn't happen,
He's
y'all.
like, hold on.
And he's like, no. So he said that the corpse showed signs of post-mortem medical examination and had been embalmed.
Okay.
So Dr. Choi, another doctor on the case, wrote in his autopsy finding, the body is completely mummified. The nose and facial features appeared to be Caucasian. When he was alive, they believe he would have stood roughly at 5'8" and maybe 150 pounds.
Okay, he's a little guy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, a wee little guy.
No offense out there, but
Yeah, somebody's gonna give you some hate mail.
Sorry,
y'all.
I'm little too, dude. I'm 5'5", so
I just want y'all to remember that was all Ryan. I didn't say it. I did put in the little guy.
Yeah, I was about to say you were mocking.
Okay, my bad too. Anyways, so Dr. Choi knew that determining the cause of death would help him narrow down the potential timeline of when this man died.
Okay.
So during the initial examination, they found a small hole in the man's chest, which they believed could have been from a chest tube or from a bullet.
I was thinking bullet.
I think they're both pretty logical guesses.
Yeah.
But when they x-rayed the body, the result of the image was completely white, which indicated that the body had been packed with radio-opaque material, making it impossible to tell anything from the x-rays.
Oh, man, that's tough.
So when they opened the chest cavity, Dr. Choi discovered the source of the material after the man was dead. Whoever embalmed him also packed him with arsenic to prevent any further decay.
I feel like that should be telling of whatever time frame or whatever era of time this body came from, right? Because that's not common today.
You're exactly right. So it is telling. So this was a common practice in Civil War era America.
Okay.
But it fell out of common practice by the early 20th century. This is another thing that helped them date this, and it put this man's death somewhere between the last half of the 19th century and first decade of the 20th century. So now they're starting to at least narrow it down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the arsenic that kept them from seeing anything on the x-ray, but when they opened him up with the organs exposed, Dr. Choi saw evidence of hemorrhaging in one lung and a perforation in the other, indicating that he had probably been shot in the chest.
Ooh, we were right.
Mm-hmm. And since they were unable to find an exit wound anywhere, they were thinking they could find the bullet in the body. So they traced the perforation from the entrance wound to the chest through the lungs and then through the liver.
Ooh.
And Dr. Choi found the bullet lodged into his hip bone.
Ow.
The bullet fragment lodged in the man's hip bone was found to be basically an antique slug. And apparently it was known as a gas check.
Okay.
So now this kind of slug was phased out in the early 20th century, but gas check ammo was a non-jacketed bullet that loaded from a high-pressure rifle or magnum revolver cartridge. According to the LAPD ballistics expert Lee Crewman, the bullet was fired from a .32-30 caliber rifle, more than likely manufactured starting in 1905.
Ooh.
Which means that however this man had died, it probably had happened sometime between 1905 and 1939.
Okay.
Which was like the start of World War II.
All right.
This is how we do it.
Mm-hmm.
Friday night. I just merged two songs.
You did. You did your own little mashup there.
I've been watching Pitch Perfect. And Pitch Perfect too. It's fine. Anyways, thank you, Rebecca.
They're actually really good movies.
I know, I love them. Anyways, all right. So back to World War II. That was real expressive.
Ooh.
This is what makes it so interesting to me. How they are using the body and what was inside it or things done to it to come up with the timeline.
Yeah, I mean, that's solid investigation work.
Yeah, for real. So they looked at the packing material and the time period in which it was used and when it faded out, as well as the bullet and what time period those bullets were used.
Yeah.
So it's pretty fascinating, at least to me it is.
It is. It really is.
Dr. Choi was closer to nailing the time of death now. And it was the next step in the autopsy that proved to be the most surprising. So when Dr. Choi removed the mandible and teeth for analysis by a dental expert, he discovered deep in the back of his mouth a corroded copper penny dated 1924 and several ticket stubs. One was a ticket for the Pike Amusement Park where the body was discovered, and another for Louis Sonny's Museum of Crime. So 524 Main Street, Los Angeles.
Okay.
In the 1920s and 30s, it was not uncommon for sideshows and boardwalk businesses to display the mummified bodies of supposed Wild West outlaws and other criminals.
Weird.
Hey, people have done weirder things.
I was going to say, we have some weird things in our history, though, I guess.
I was like, people have done weirder things, but, I mean, you got to think about it, too. People buy tickets for, like, the body farm.
Yeah.
Brittany's been there.
I would go.
Yeah. And I get it. It's for, like, medical, and people have said, like, hey, use my body for this. But it's just weird. Like, it's weird. On display.
It's weird.
So, back in this day, people were pretty much like, hey, come look at these outlaws who got mummified.
Come on in.
Yeah. Like, that was the exhibit. That was the show.
It's weird.
Yeah. People are pretty weird. I mean, we're a little bit weird. It's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, based on the tickets found in the mummy's mouth, it appeared that prior to his afterlife in the amusement park, he was probably involved in one of the Outlaw Mummy shows. So, the next day, a statement from the Emmy's office appeared in the newspaper around the country, giving the cause of death: shot in the chest, shot to the heart, and you're too late. Oh, sorry. It was just too good. It was too good not to do it.
A bad name.
Bad name. All right. So sorry, y'all. So sorry.
Ooh, I like some air guitar, though.
Of course you do.
I do.
So, shot in the chest, along with a statement asking for help from the public and tracking down Sonny.
It's a good idea.
Any relatives. Yeah, it really is. You know, him or any relatives who may know the origin of the body. So the story moved super fast, and within one day, the Emmy's office received a call from Dave Friedman, the president of Entertainment Ventures, which was the parent company of Sonny's Museum of Crime.
It's probably the quickest lead ever.
So he exclaimed immediately when he spoke to the Emmy's office, "It's old Elmer." Okay.
It's old Elmer.
So according to Friedman, it was Elmer McCurdy, a small-time bandit who was gunned down by a sheriff's posse after robbing a train in Oklahoma in 1911.
Wow.
So Friedman claimed that since no one had claimed his body after his death, the enterprising sheriff at the time sold the embalmed body. Sold it to the operator of a traveling carnival for display in their sideshow.
How disrespectful.
So Sonny, founder of the Entertainment Ventures, obtained McCurdy's body in 1921 as security on a $500 loan that was never repaid.
Wow.
So since then, Elmer McCurdy's body was displayed at various boardwalks and sideshow attractions until the practice of displaying mummified bodies to the public fell off in the 1940s.
Thank God. I'm like, ugh.
So according to Friedman, after being taken out of the show, McCurdy's body was moved to the storage unit in Los Angeles and remained in storage until Dan Sonny, Lewis's son, inherited the company in 1968.
Wow.
And then he sold Elmer McCurdy's body to the Hollywood Wax Museum, who in turn sold it to the Pike Amusement Park, where it was on display until it was discovered during the filming of $6 Million Man.
Wow. Elmer's just been everywhere.
Yep. So in the days after, Dr. Noguchi, that's my favorite name, by the way.
Yeah, it's not a bad name.
I like it. Noguchi.
I like it too.
Oh, sorry. Anyway, so Dr. Noguchi and his assistant at the medical examiner's office conducted further analysis of the body to confirm or rule out that it was in fact Elmer McCurdy. Since there's no DNA testing available at the time, the doctor took measurements of the bone and had a sketch artist render what this man would have looked like. So based on the few existing photographs of Elmer McCurdy that they were provided by the Oklahoma Historical Society, the doctor and his team were able to confidently confirm that this mummy was indeed the body of Elmer McCurdy.
Okay, well, that's pretty cool.
So in a press conference held to confirm this in April of 1977, Dr. Noguchi announced that once the appropriate paperwork had been filed, the body would be released to the Oklahoma Historical Society and be shipped to Guthrie, Oklahoma for proper burial.
It's about time.
So the Historical Society spokesperson, Fred Olds, told reporters Elmer will finally be buried at an old territorial cemetery with robbers and outlaws.
Okay, perfect.
Yep. So that's good.
Yeah.
He was sidetracked for a long time, but we feel like he's part of history. Did you know that there was an outlaw cemetery?
I had no idea until this case.
Yeah, me neither. So
Pretty cool, though.
it is pretty cool. So the identification of the Pike mummy seemingly brought this mystery to a close, but it did nothing to answer a lot of the new questions that people who've read the story, like who was Elmer McCurdy and how did he end up here?
I was going to say this would bring up a lot more questions, I feel like.
Yep. So Elmer McCurdy was born January 1st, 1880 in Washington, Maine, to an unwed mother, Sadie McCurdy, which of course in the 1880s, an unwed mother was not what you wanted to be.
Yeah, definitely not. Not then.
So according to the author Mark Spimbold, Elmer never got to know the identity of his father, but it was possibly Sadie's cousin, Charles Davis.
Ew.
Yeah. So to help save Elmer some embarrassment because he was already born out of wedlock and possibly by his mom's cousin, Sadie's brother George and wife Helen adopted Elmer.
Okay.
In 1890, when Elmer was 10 years old, George unfortunately died from tuberculosis.
Oh.
So Helen and Sadie moved to Bangor, Maine.
Bangor, Maine. How many times have you talked about Bangor?
Yeah, Bangor, Maine.
Bangor!
To live with their older brother, Charles. It was at this time that Sadie started taking a more active role in caring for Elmer, and not long after that, the two women revealed to Elmer that Sadie was his biological mom.
This poor kid.
It's kind of like Ted Bundy.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. So, this is pretty upsetting. He had recently lost the man who he thought was his birth father. Now he gets this information. That's a lot for a 10-year-old to process.
That's a ton.
So, according to Spinbold, those who knew McCurdy said this was the point that things really took a turn for the worse and provoked the rebellious and unruly side of him.
Oh, no.
Within a few years, even though he was very much still a child, Elmer picked up a drinking habit. He struggled with this the rest of his life.
Oh, my God. So 10 years old?
But remember the time frame. Like, it was so much more easily accessible.
That is still
it was
crazy.
different back then, too.
I mean,
like, I
you're
feel like you
right.
drank younger.
You're right, but gosh.
Yep. So, but signs trouble had really arrived was when he got arrested at the age of 15 for starting a bar fight in Belfast, Maine.
Oh, man.
So after this incident, Sadie and Helen decided that Elmer needed a strong, masculine role model in his life.
Might be too late.
And he was sent to live with his grandfather, Hardin McCurdy.
Okay.
So Hardin really did try to help him. He got him an apprenticeship with a local plumber. So he brought some new and much needed structure to his life, which really seemed to fit Elmer.
Good.
He seemed to like it. So by the age of 18, he became an expert plumber.
Okay. He
But
turned it around.
He did, but it was short-lived.
Oh.
So in 1898, McCurdy was settling and trying to move out on his own. The American economy started going down.
Oh, no.
So going down, 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 down.
And sugar, we're going down swinging. Going down, down, da 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 da.
I butchered it. It's fine. Going down, down, down to the burning ring of fire.
Hey, some Johnny Cash.
Okay, I feel like that was more appropriate.
That was good.
Anyways, so it really hit rural areas like Bangor.
I know.
And And because of this recession, a lot of businesses were closing and people are losing their jobs.
Oh,
So thousands of people left their small towns to find any kind of employment. So not the best situation to be heading out on your own to start for the first time.
definitely not.
So Sadie and Helen both lost their jobs, and apparently Sadie was prone to anxiety and developed an ulcer that she really struggled to keep control of. And in 1900,
Stop.
she ended up dying.
Oh,
Mhm.
no.
It unexpectedly ruptured, and a few months later, Hardin, Elmer's grandfather, also died of Bright's disease,
Wow.
which is an outdated generic term for inflamed kidneys.
Okay.
So in the span of 10 years, Elmer lost who he believed at the time to be his father, his birth mother, and his grandfather, who played a vital role in shaping him through his final years of adolescence. To make matters worse, after putting in all his hard work to learn a trade, master it, and become an expert plumber,
There
The
was
re-
no work.
the
Ah.
recession has now left him unable to find a job.
Mm-mm-mm.
So, what did he do? He spiraled and once again started drinking.
Oh, man. Again, guys, never the answer.
So he decided that there was nothing left in Maine for him, so he ended up drifting around for a few years, jumping train cars, going from town to town.
Gosh, that right there is like something that is so crazy to me whenever you hear about how people would literally jump trains.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, all I can see is a broken arm or leg when you jump out of the train and roll off. You know, I don't know. Dangerous.
Yeah. So that was him. Jumping trains, going town to town looking for work. Occasionally he would find like temp work, handyman, plumber work, but eventually his drinking would get the better of him and he would find himself fired again and again. So in 1903, he found himself in Iola, a small town in southeast Kansas. And about a decade earlier, a large deposit of natural gas had been discovered under the ground. So this led to a boom of new industry and a large increase in the once small town's population.
Makes sense.
So in response to this, they are now becoming a successful and thriving town. And the town leaders went out of their way to erase the prior Wild West-like identity and wanted now to present Iola as this up-and-coming hub of industry, like the future of Kansas. So within a few years of finding the resources under the land of Iola, they had completely transformed this place. Paved roads, invested in a telephone system,
Okay.
built accommodations and attractions, an opera house, a local
Oh.
branch of the YMCA,
What? That was a thing back then?
apparently.
Okay.
So it was like a really up and happening town. A lot to offer, especially for someone who's looking to start over like Elmer McCurdy.
Sorry.
Like Elmer McCurdy, especially because he was a trained professional now. So he was psyched about this opportunity in this town. The town was happy to have him, and they basically said so. When he arrived in the town that year, in an announcement of newly arrived citizens, the local paper described Elmer as, quote, an industrial young man who had gained access to the better society circles of Iola, who classed among his friends many of the well-known people of this town.
He just got there. They don't even
he
know
just like
him.
jumped. He literally jumped social circles like that.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yep. So
Weird. I guess this was a thing back then. I mean,
I
you could
guess.
get one article and all of a sudden you're famous
Apparently,
and you just know everyone.
we just saw it happen
That's so weird.
right before our eyes.
All right.
So unfortunately, that didn't last very long because Elmer was obviously a self-sabotager,
Mhm.
and it didn't take long for him to squander those newly found opportunities given to him.
Oh, man.
He did find work as a plumber shortly after arriving, but within a couple of months, his alcoholism started causing him trouble. According to McCurdy's former employer, William Root, after a long night of drinking at a local saloon, Elmer claimed that he had killed a man in a bar fight
Oh.
in another state, and rumors started swirling, and the employer confronted him about this and straight up asked him, like, hey, did you kill somebody? Because if you did, you can't work for me. Elmer denied it, saying, I didn't. I was just making stuff up. But William ultimately still let him go for this.
I was about to say, it can't be a good look. Why would you go around bragging? I guess you see that all the time, even today, though.
Yeah. So in 1905, McCurdy left Kansas by hopping a freight car, eventually ending up in Webb City, Missouri.
Okay.
Who was also experiencing a boom in industry and population due to the world's largest zinc deposit found underneath the town.
All right.
So Elmer found a job at the Davie Mine Company. Keep in mind that, this is a time frame in which safety policies and or laws were extremely lax.
That.
No OSHA.
Yeah.
So basically absent. There was nothing.
Yeah. Had to be super dangerous.
Yeah. So this was actually one of the most dangerous jobs in this time frame.
I believe that.
So you could be dead tomorrow from this type of job, and cave-ins were a big thing for anyone in the industry at this point in time.
So dangerous.
So McCurdy was on a team of muckers, which are the men who collect and loosen chipped pieces of zinc into carts, then hauled them back to the surface, and the salary was about $2 a day. So, if you compare that to today's currency, that would be the equivalent of $73.
Okay.
So back then, that's a ton of money.
Yeah, but gosh, I can only imagine too, all the dust and stuff.
Mm-hmm. So the work would have been very, very hard physically and required him to shovel about 60 to 100 tons of material to a cart by hand.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm. So the working conditions, as you can imagine, are far from ideal. And according to Spinbold, men were crushed by rockfall or blown to bits by overuse of dynamite.
Wow.
And this was a regular thing.
Mm-mm.
And because, hard hats were not invented yet, head injuries were very common. And in order to stop them, the miners were pretty industrious themselves. They would wad up newspaper and place it under their hats to help soften any blows to the head.
Okay.
Among this, there were also other unexpected effects like endless mounts of zinc dust that was, hanging in the air constantly from the drilling you're blasting. And when it's breathed in for extended amounts of time, zinc causes silicosis, also known as miner's consumption, which was a scarring of the lung tissue that would eventually lead to your death.
Man.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that would be a brutal death.
Yep. So after less than 2 years in the mines, Elmer McCurdy had developed a terrible cough.
2 years?
2 years.
Wow.
And he was short of breath continuously, kind of like me right now. And constantly struggling with lung irritations, which were said to be pretty debilitating, and it would eventually stop him from doing his job.
I believe that.
So he couldn't earn a living in the mines anymore. Quickly, he went back to using alcohol as a crutch. And as he watched his savings dwindle, he decided to join the U.S. Army in 1907.
Let's just add to that trauma.
Yeah. So he was assigned to Company E 3rd Infantry stationed at Fort Leavenworth in Kansas. In his pre-enlistment paperwork, his former job was listed as miner, not plumber, even though he was much more skilled as a plumber.
And that had to be a mistake, right?
Surely.
Well, no, I mean, obviously he did it on purpose, but he wasn't thinking when he did this.
Yeah. So, like I said, he was much more skilled as a plumber and had much more experience in that field. And because of that, he was assigned to a program that trained soldiers in demolition, specifically with various forms of explosives.
Oh, man.
In addition to his training in explosives, he served as a person who detached machine guns and generally flew under the radar for 3 years.
Okay.
So in the spring of 1910, he was given an honorable discharge after his initial term, and he chose not to renew his contract and was like, you know what? I've got other ways I can earn a living.
What are they?
Well, he had intentions of searching for a job, but the recession was still going on. After 2 weeks of unemployment, he sent a telegram to his army buddy, Walter Shull Hillary, and he asked him to get a few days of leave to come help him with the job.
This sounds suspicious.
So Walter managed to get a week-long pass to meet Elmer in St. Joseph, Kansas.
Okay.
And on the night of November 19th, 1910, Elmer and Walter were walking down the main street in St. Joseph, Kansas, when they were stopped by 3 special officers for the Burlington train line.
Okay.
And at that time, it was common practice for these type of special officers to stop unfamiliar men who seemed like drifters. So they stopped them and questioned them, and then the officers noticed the large bag that Elmer was carrying.
Oh, Lord. What's in the bag, son?
They insisted that he open the bag, and when he did, that's when they found a 4-screw, a door jimmy, assorted drills and hacksaws, chisels, a nitroglycerin funnel,
Oh, my gosh.
gunpowder, and a gunpowder funnel.
Okay, well,
This is just typical contents for a man purse.
yeah, you know.
These were all tools that obviously were used by bank robbers and burglars at the time.
Definitely.
So Elmer and Walter really couldn't explain why they had all these items. And in an affidavit filed for their arrest, the officers claimed that they were in possession of, quote, mechanical devices adapted design commonly used for breaking into vaults and safes. So only 2 weeks out of the army, and he's already been arrested and was now facing a felony charge.
Wow.
That carried a sentence of between 2 and 10 years in prison.
Mm.
So broke, he was unable to obtain a lawyer. He concocted a new plan.
Uh-oh.
So on November 23rd, so far his plans aren't really
I was
good.
going to say, let's hear this one.
Yeah. So on November 23rd, the day of his court date, Elmer dressed in his army uniform and headed to court. He explained that he was not carrying the common tools of a burglar, but instead part of an invention that he and Walter were trying to patent.
He is creative, huh?
A machine gun tripod that allowed the users to shoot the gun with their foot.
Okay.
Very, very innovative, right?
Very.
Very. So Elmer went as far as asking for a continuance so he could subpoena his commanding officer, Captain Charles Murphy,
Wow.
who he claimed would testify to his claims.
He was hoping they wouldn't do it.
Yeah. So everyone in the court was like,
Nah.
yeah. So he definitely overplayed his hand here. And they subpoenaed Captain Murphy, and he appeared in court, but his testimony didn't match what Elmer said it would.
Of course it didn't.
So instead, Captain Murphy testified that those bits of metal would have absolutely zero use in any machine gun.
Mm-hmm.
So Elmer immediately jumped up and lunged at Captain Murphy.
What?
And had to be restrained by the officers of the court.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. So Elmer's outburst, paired with the lies about the items he was caught with, was sufficient enough evidence for the judge to set a trial date.
I bet.
So as Elmer sat in jail waiting for his trial, he began talking and making friends with other inmates.
What better place to make friends than jail?
So this included a man named Walter Jarrett, who was serving a short sentence for petty theft, but he had several longer stints in jail for robbing banks. So, like many men in this time frame, Jarrett had grown up idolizing the outlaws from the Wild West.
See, and that's so true. Those were literally like role models for some of these people growing up in this time frame.
We're talking Jesse James, the Dalton brothers.
Yep.
Like, that was their idols.
Yep.
You know, we're talking men who made a living by being criminals.
Yep.
And at this point, he was determined to be just like his childhood heroes, which in return landed him in jail pretty often. Very often.
Man.
Jarrett convinced Elmer that if he was able to get out of his own predicaments, they could collaborate.
Wow.
And maybe do some jobs together. So he was like, hey, Elmer, stop, collaborate, and listen. I got a plan and an invention.
Hey, that was good.
I can't go on. It's fine.
He's like, you know how to blow shit up.
He's like, come on. We could be a dynamic duo.
Wow.
So Jarrett was easily, able to convince Elmer that... You good?
It's funny. I mean, it's not funny, but it's funny.
like he was pretty able to convince Elmer that if they could get out of this, they could collaborate and do some jobs together. So
I cannot.
And honestly, like, all of this was knowing, like, based on the fact that Elmer knew how to blow some stuff up.
I am sorry. I am crying. I'm literally crying.
Yeah. And he had, army training. And that would be a very useful tool in bank robberies.
I'm sure.
Yep. So.
Wow.
On January 30th of 1911, Elmer's case went before a jury, and while everybody expected this case to be quick, open, and shut, within the first day, it seemed like things were really going to go in the favor of Elmer.
Wow.
The prosecutor was only able to find one person who would testify against his machine gun patent defense.
Wow. Well, who was it?
But, just wait. When the witness was shown the tool that Elmer was found with, he couldn't identify them of being the tools of a bank robber or burglar in general.
Okay.
So basically, he said, I can't say they are and I can't say they aren't.
Okay.
So Elmer was also able to find U.S. Army officials who were willing to testify that McCurdy, quote, was the best damn soldier in the whole damned army.
Wow. Okay.
So in the end, it actually came down to a reasonable doubt. And while no one knows if the jury actually believed the tripod machine gun defense, ultimately the prosecution failed to provide that the tools he had been carrying were for a bank robbery or burglary of any kind. So guess what?
He went off scotch-free.
He was acquitted of the charges.
Oh my gosh. That is so crazy. I mean, the list of tools that he had was crazy.
Like, it was like, really?
Mm-hmm.
Why else would you use it?
Yeah, exactly. Why else would you have these items?
But, I mean, if you can prove reasonable doubt, okay.
Yeah, true.
Following the acquittal, he immediately sought out Walter Jarrett to begin their life of crime. And by then, Jarrett had already talked up Elmer to his brothers. Specifically, his experience in blowing shit up.
All right.
So, in spring, this gang of men broke into the general store in Oklahoma and stole the tools and ammunition needed to complete their first big job.
Ooh, I can't wait to hear about this.
Robbing the St. Louis Iron Mountain train. So, on a routine mail run in April, the gang caused a disturbance on the track ahead of the train, causing the train to come to a stop.
I feel like that was so common back then, too.
So, once the train had stopped, the gang opened fire, showering the express car in bullets.
Wow.
So, the passengers of the train panicked. The Jarrett brothers entered the engineer's room and held the train engineer at gunpoint during that time.
Oh, scary.
And in the meantime, old Elmer.
Freaking Elmer.
Elmer entered the car wash.
The car wash?
Sorry.
Working at the car wash, yeah. Sorry, that was in my head.
My bad. Elmer entered the express car where the safe was stored.
Okay.
To blow up the safe. This way they could steal whatever was in it.
Okay.
Unfortunately, Elmer turned out to be less of an expert
Oh, no.
than the brothers had thought he was.
Poor Elmer, man. He's just...
Yeah, so the brothers returned to the train car to find that the explosives had been unsuccessful at blowing up or even opening the safe.
Oh, not even a little budge. Okay.
But determined, Elmer tried again.
If at first you don't succeed, try again.
Well, guess what? Second time was not the charm.
Oh, no.
So the train sat on the tracks for over 2 hours as Elmer continued to try to blow it up.
I'm telling you, he is struggling. Poor thing.
So at this point, passengers are just sitting there watching them try over and over. But finally, after this long time and multiple failed attempts, Elmer was able to get the door to the safe open. But by that time, he'd also blown up an enormous hole in the side of the train car and destroyed the interior of another.
Wow.
So when they entered the car to extract the $4,000 worth of silver coins that awaited inside the safe, they discovered that the explosives had been so hot that it fused all the coins into a single shiny mass of silver.
Oh, no.
Yep. So,
Oh, that's hilarious.
yes. So, at this point, they have one huge mass of silver.
Heavy.
So, the men tried really hard to get this giant blob of silver off the walls and floors of the safe. But eventually, they noticed the light of an approaching car and they had to run. So, as they ran off the train, they did steal some of the passengers' watches. Because at this point, what else are you going to do?
Yeah,
like, you got to take something.
Yeah.
So, following that attempted robbery, Elmer McCurdy and Walter Jarrett were immediately identified as the attempted robbers.
Of course they were.
Yep. So, a reward of $1,000 was offered if they were caught.
Okay.
So, all of the mistakes that took place during the robbery were put on them, and the gang made no secrets that they were pissed about what happened.
I bet they were.
So, a knife fight actually broke out within a couple hours after the failed attempt between Jarrett and McCurdy.
Oh my gosh.
This ended in Jarrett's face getting slashed and McCurdy's arm having a nasty gash. So the resentment from this failed heist led to breaking up the gang. And they all went their separate ways.
Oh my god.
Yeah. All went their separate ways. Within a few months, Jarrett's whole crew had been rounded up and prosecuted for their crimes, while Elmer remained at large and on the run. He ended up passing himself off as different aliases like Charles Davis, Frank Curtis, and that just happened to be the one he used in September of 1911.
Okay.
So even though he was no longer in the company of hardcore bandits, he was still determined to make a name for himself as an outlaw. So by late September, he hooked up with a new criminal outfit, and they had a new plan to get rich.
Oh, man.
So the evening of October 6, 1911, McCurdy and his new gang stopped train number 29.
Oh, they're trying another train.
So this is near the small town of Okeesha in northern Oklahoma. So the gang heard rumors about the train supposedly having $400,000.
That's a big jump from that 4,000 on the last train.
I know, right? It was supposed to be delivered to Osage Reservation in exchange for oil.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess that explains it.
Yeah. Determined to make up for the last failure, Elmer volunteered to take point.
Oh, Lord.
And after stopping the train on the tracks, Elmer set about decoupling the engine and the express car so they could drive it further down the tracks and make off with the money.
Okay.
So at first, things went smoothly.
That's a better plan. I like this better.
But this round, the train stopped and they weren't able to get the train car detached to move down the track.
Wow.
When the gang arrived at the car that Elmer detached, they discovered that he had detached the wrong car and they left the car with the safe miles behind them.
Wow. Oh, man.
So the car had successfully been stolen, but it only had $45 inside. So the gang was deeply disappointed and went their separate ways, but not before Elmer stole the conductor's watch and a bottle of whiskey for his trouble.
Oh.
So walking on his own, he fled into the Osage Hills, but the law wasn't far behind this time. The area that Elmer fled was more difficult to navigate than he expected.
He's going to get lost.
Yeah. So not only did he not know the area, but it was very dense with thickets and ravines. Not to mention, he had been drinking the whiskey the entire time, so he was pretty drunk.
He's hammered.
Yep. He was moving slowly, and he wasn't doing anything to cover his tracks.
Wow.
So at one point, he dropped the empty whiskey bottle on the ground, which gave the bloodhounds the scent that they set out for and the opportunity to renew the scent. So within a short amount of time, the sheriff's posse met up with Elmer at a farm along the Big Caney River. So this is where he was hiding out in a barn.
Not smart, dude.
So it was nighttime when they met up with him, and he was passed out in the hay for obvious reasons. So instead of the officers risking losing him in the dark, they waited there until daylight to make their arrest. And at about 7 a.m. the next morning, 3 deputies approached the barn doors.
They're like, hey, wake up.
They said, hey, get up. You probably got a headache.
A whole bottle of whiskey, I can imagine.
They started making noise to wake him up from his sleep, and when Elmer looked through the hole and saw them, he didn't hesitate and opened fire on them.
Wow.
So Bob Fenton, one of the deputies, later said, he shot at me first, and he took a shot at Stringer. And after that, he took 3 shots at Wallace before we opened fire on him.
Gosh, so they gave him many opportunities there.
So McCurdy had already proven to be a poor explosive expert, and as it turns out, he wasn't very handy with a gun, so bless his heart. That's where we
Bless his little heart. As we Texans say.
So all 5 shots that he took at the men standing less than 10 feet from him missed.
Wow.
So the deputies retreated for about an hour while continuing to exchange fire until one of the bullets hit Elmer in the chest, which sent the bullet ricocheting into his hip, where it would be found decades later by the Los Angeles medical examiner.
That sounds painful. And this is like an old school Wild West shootout.
Yeah. So the sheriff posse collected Elmer's body.
Oh, like he died right then and there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So the sheriff's posse collected Elmer's body and brought it back to Pawhuska, Oklahoma with them.
What a name.
Yeah. So this is where they handed it over to Johnson's, which was the local funeral parlor.
Okay.
So knowing that no one was going to come claim the body,
Oh, no.
the undertaker saw an opportunity to make some money.
Disgusting.
So he treated the body with an arsenic compound, creating a situation that would allow the body to mummify itself over time. And after that, Elmer was stored in the back room
Wow.
of Johnson's, where the proprietor charged a nickel.
Oh my God. This poor
It's
guy.
awful. I know we're laughing, but
It's
it
not
really is
funny.
bad.
It's messed up.
But yeah, they charged a nickel for people to come look at him, where he was billed as the bandit who wouldn't give up.
The little engine that could.
Yeah, basically. He was terrible at his job, y'all.
Terrible.
So his dreams just did not take off.
Shattered.
Shattered his hip.
Yeah.
But once they were shattered, he should have just taken that the first time and be like, all right, let's try something else.
Well, that's my thought. I mean,
especially if he was so skilled.
Well, at least he switched up his plan the second time around with the train and was gonna
Yeah, but at least get the logistics right of what cart to unhook.
Well, exactly. But like we said, he's a terrible criminal.
Yeah. Anyways, so to the undertaker's surprise, a man came into the funeral parlor saying he was McCurdy's long-lost brother, and he tearfully begged the undertaker to give Elmer's body to him so that he could give him a proper burial.
This sounds fishy to me.
But not wanting to be highlighted by the law, he gave up the body.
Bet.
So Johnson said, here you go. Let's not have any problem.
Here's my sideshow.
However, it wasn't until later that he learned that this long-lost brother was in fact the owner of a traveling carnival who tricked him into handing over his side hustle star.
These people are shady.
I know. And so it was then Elmer McCurdy entered the sideshow circuit, getting passed from one traveling show to another until he finally ended up hanging in the Laugh in the Dark ride at Pike Amusement Park in Long Beach.
That is a crazy story.
It's ironic because all his life he tried and failed to make a name for himself.
So true.
But then in death, he achieved the notoriety that he felt like he deserved.
We're laughing, but I feel so bad for this guy.
I know. I'm over here this is why I don't believe in participation trophies.
Right?
They're awful.
I agree.
So, once all the paperwork had been signed and filed, Elmer's body was released to the Oklahoma Historical Society and the Indian Territory of Westerners. And in April 1977, 66 years after a bullet fired from the Osage County Sheriff's deputy ended his life, Elmer McCurdy was finally laid to rest at Boot Hill Cemetery in Guthrie, Oklahoma.
Okay, well, that's cool. What a great ending, though. I mean, I guess not for him, but ultimately, for his body to be laid to rest,
I mean, he got the notoriety he always wanted. He just didn't get to get it in life.
Such an unfortunate story.
This is where we're going to leave you.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Taylor.
And remember,
It's not just crime.
it's
Pure
pure
malice.
malice. See you next time.
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do.